We begin the news in the nation's capital, Abuja, where the Federal High Court hearing the case of former Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State on a 19-count charge bordering on alleged fraud resumed sitting today and adjourned proceedings to March 6th and 7th. Counsel to the prosecution, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission had initially informed the court of his intention to present 3 witnesses, but was only able to provide 2 following the inability of the 3rd witness to appear. A very heavy security presence was noticed at the court as armed EFCC and security operatives with canines were seen manning several positions within and outside the court premises. Still in Abuja, a serious face-off ensued at the gate of the Federal High Court Abuja Monday when police officers and EFCC officials attempted to prevent activist and convener of the Take It Back movement, Omoyele Sowore, from entering the court premises. Sowore insisted that the officers had no right to prevent him from entering the court premises to conduct his business. He told the officers that they were not court officials and as such had no business denying him access to the court. The heavy presence of police and EFCC officials at the court's gate was linked to the arraignment of former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, who has an ongoing court case with the Commission over alleged financial misappropriation. In a video posted on his X handle, Sowore claimed that Nigeria's justice system had been hijacked by uniformed security agents, including the Department of State Security Services, Police and Civil Defense. Here's how the confrontation played out. Take a look.
They are the ones who bring us to court. Harass EFCC for that matter. Yes. Huh? There's no issue. I have a court case. Please. Leave the road. Hey, don't touch me. Don't touch me. You can't restrict me. No. There's no order given to you that can prevent me from going to. You can't. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. No, I'm not going to call everybody to tell you a case I have. No, you have no right. You have no right to prevent me from attending to my case at the Federal High Court. You don't have any right to stay in front of the Federal High Court.
Which case do you have?
Regardless of who you are.
Which case do you have?
I'm not going to tell you my case. You are not my lawyer. You are not my lawyer. Stop your foolishness. You are not my lawyer. Very stupid people. How can you be harassing people in front of the Federal High Court?
And joining us now is Joshua Marai, who is live from Abuja for more on these 2 stories. Joshua, many thanks for joining us. Can you just give us some insight first into the Yahaya Bello case with all the tight security and how everything just unfolded today in courts?
Well, the security presence we saw at the Federal High Court today was not something that is regular. It was strange to us because considering the fact that Yahaya Bello is not in the custody of the EFCC, Yahaya Bello came from his house or wherever he's staying. But the security presence is, however, not unconnected to the fact that the EFCC have had issues, instances in the past where they've had to contend with talks as regards to how they come into the court and leave. Most times they've always been overshadowed, besieged with courts, with talks. Sometimes you will even see talks surrounding the courthouse, but today was not the case because I think the EFCC came prepared. But unfortunately, that singular act affected the inflow of persons from outside and inside the premises of the Federal High Court because lawyers, respondents, and people who had dealings in the court today actually had hindrances because of this same security arrangement. It was, however, it is quite strange for us, particularly in Abuja.
And on to Omoyele Sowore's case, what really transpired on that event? Well,
Sowore is no news, an activist that most security men actually have to beware of, if I may put the words like that, because seeing Sowore and security men, this tends to put off signals that security men don't take lightly. The case of Sowore today was unfortunate, if I may say, because Sowore is another Nigerian who is coming to the court to do a thing or the other. We know that somebody has his own case at the Federal High Court in Abuja before Justice Musa Liman. But however, somebody met with the security men, the EFCC men particularly, who stopped him and who ran after him and stopped him and was like, "Where are you going? Who are you? Identify yourself." So there is not someone who is who needs to do an introduction or a reintroduction. He's known for a fact that the security men had issues with him gaining access into the Federal High Court premises was something that we couldn't decipher the intent of the security man who actually stopped somebody. But fortunately, the senior the senior police officer who was on ground actually does the entire situation and made sure that everywhere was calm. All right.
Well, Joshua Mary, thanks for the update there. Joshua Marai, who is all the way from Abuja, just to give us updates on the happenings in Abuja with the court case with Yahaya Bello. Now off to Abuja, where the Senate Committee on Finance has commenced a 2-day public hearing on the tax reform bills after weeks of debate. The hearing, which gathers input from key stakeholders, aims to shape Nigeria's evolving tax administration framework. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, Senator Sani Musa, confirmed the Red Chamber's readiness to begin deliberations, stating that the committee will consider 2 bills per day during the session. Among the bills under review are the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Fund Bill, the Nigerian Revenue Services Bill, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, and the Nigerian Tax Bills. The President of the Nigerian Senate, Godswill Akpabio, is expected to deliver a keynote address and also declare the public hearing open. President Bola Tinubu had transmitted the 4 tax reform bills to the National Assembly on October 3rd, 2024, which sparked intense controversy among lawmakers and in different parts of the country. Despite the controversy, the bills scaled second reading, setting the stage for today's public hearing, where stakeholders are expected to make submissions before further legislative action is taken. The reforms are expected to play a key role in the federal government's fiscal policies, with key focus on revenue generation, economic revival, and infrastructural development. The House of Representatives is also scheduled to hold its own public hearing on the bills tomorrow, Tuesday, following their passage for second reading earlier this month. We were joined earlier by Evan Sufeli, the lawyer and he's a lawyer and tax consultant from Buffalo in New York, and here's how he weighed in on the subject.
And tax collection and the rest of that, especially on the VAT, where I mean, there's this heavy argument on alcohol, tax on alcohol that is shared across the country, but a part of the country do not believe in alcohol and whatever it is, but they share from the tax. That is one issue. That one is anchored on the VAT, which is not actually fully regulated or connected thereto. But the truth is that they must consider equity. There must be a level of national contribution, okay, so as to enhance the formidability and practicability of these bills. Okay, it's at this level that is considered, and we have seen that the North, actually, they have come to a consensus, and they have actually agreed with the totality of it, because one of the governors then and some of the lawmakers then had contended, very seriously about the fact that the peculiarities and the cultural expression of the North must be considered in the tax reform, and that no tax reform should inhibit religious practices and cultural practices of the people. It should be made in such a way. But I think that was just, a coloration of difference. Okay, during the debate, it was fully entrenched and extended. And at the end of the day, they got to understand that even the current tax system that we have, that is even the one that inhibits cultural and religious affair activity. But the current one that is being proposed is much more liberal. Okay, much more liberal, have a widespread capacity to deliver more. And
the All Progressives Congress in Osun State has instructed local government chairmen reinstated by the Court of Appeal on 10th of February to resume duties on Monday. In a statement issued on Sunday by the APC's Director of Media and Information, Kola Olabisi, the party dismissed social media reports advising the chairman against returning to office, labeling them as fake news propagated by anti-democratic elements. Meanwhile, Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has directed newly elected local government chairmen to steer clear council secretariats to prevent unrest. Speaking at their swearing-in on Sunday, Adeleke urged the 30 chairmen and their deputies to focus on community development and uphold the PDP's manifesto. And now to help us understand the situation in Osun State, we're joined by a lawyer and public affairs commentator, Curtis Adigba. Mr. Curtis and Mr. Adigba. Mr. Adigba, many thanks for joining us. We appreciate you for doing this with us. I mean, let's just get started, shall we? What are the potential implications of the court appeals reinstatement of APC local government chairman in Osun State?
Well, ordinarily, but first of all, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
When you have a court judgment, even if you do not believe or think that the judgment of the court is unfair, the usual thing to do is to first of all abide by that judgment until it's set aside. Now, but I think the issue here is the claim by the state government that there was nowhere in that judgment where the court ordered a reinstatement of the sacked local government chairman. And that was why they went ahead to conduct a new local government elections, where we now have new sets of local government chairmen side by side with those reinstated by the Court of Appeal. And the problem we have in this country is that no matter how clear a judgment is, lawyers and their clients will still look for ways and means to create confusion around that judgment, so that constantly we have conflicts in our politics. And you want to ask yourself, yes, politics is conflictual, but what are the conflicts about? It's not the size of the budget for water, for roads, for school, for infrastructural development, and all that. It's always about who gets what, when, and how. So if you ask me, I think that even though they conducted a new election, they should have sought for interpretation of the judgment of the Court of Appeal before conducting a new election. But now that they have done so, they should have waited before these guys are sworn in.
So how do you think this power struggle between the APC and the PDP in Osun State will affect grassroots governance and public trust in democratic and just in the democratic institutions?
The first and foremost, people no longer trust our democratic institutions. Largely, they are not useful to the people, all right? It's all about promises, about what they are going to do. Even those who are in power right now, they're talking about what they will do in 2027. Now they have the opportunity. So it's not about even trust anymore. But how does this serve the people, all right? The needs of the people can't wait for this unnecessary conflict in politics. So I will appeal to the leaders in the state, or leaders of the two political parties, that they should consider the interests of the people first, in their politicking. For them, this is just a game and a sport. But for the people, it's a reality. It's about their lives. And so the local government must be governed by elected people, okay? The right set of people that were elected to govern. Because the purpose of having local governments in the first place is to bring governance closer to the people. And they are doing their own part of it by always coming out to vote to elect their representatives. So my appeal will be to the leaders of the two political parties to abide by the ruling of the court, even if we have new set of local government chairmen that have been elected, right? They can wait on the sidelines until there's a proper interpretation of the judgment by the Court of Appeal. And then that decision can be made.
And what broader political implications could this conflict between state and court-backed officials set for local government autonomy in Nigeria?
So first of all, the issue of local government autonomy has been on the table for too long. When this president came and felt that the best way was to take the matter to the Supreme Court for interpretation, a lot of people clapped for him, but I felt that was an easy way out. Now, the best way to secure local government autonomy is to do a constitutional amendment. Even at that, nobody is sure that even that politicians will play by the rules in this country. But having said that, it is critical and it is very important, right, that we have clear-cut reforms in this sector, very critical government arm that delivers the goods to the people. And the only way, and the best way to do that is that even after you have a constitutional amendment or the judgment of the court, politicians need to develop new kind of attitude that will serve the people better. Attitude that says, look, it is not about us as individuals, okay? A desire to live for causes that are greater than themselves. That is the way to solve problem. The laws will not always be right. The pronouncement of the courts will not always be right.
All right.
But when you have people who are bent on doing the right thing and moving the society forward, and then you have things work out.
All right. Well, we must say thank you for taking out the time to join us, Mr. Adigba. Mr. Adigba, here's my guest, just to give us a bit of insight and a bit of just to weigh in on the issues going on with the local government chairmanship and the latest election and swearing in of the new elected local government chairmen for Osun State. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we come back on the other side, aggrieved Niger Delta youths are protesting in Abuja. We'll tell you why just after the break. Join us again. And you're welcome back. Lucky Aiyedatiwa has been sworn in as the governor of Ondo State, marking the beginning of his first full 4-year term after succeeding Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, who passed away in 2023. In his address, Aiyedatiwa expressed gratitude to the people of Ondo State for their trust and reaffirmed his commitment to fulfilling campaign promises. He emphasized key priorities such as infrastructural development, economic growth, job creation, and security enhancement across the state. The swearing-in ceremony took place on Monday at the Ondo State Sports Complex in Akure, 2 months after Aiyedatiwa secured victory in the governorship election under the banner of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Nigeria's higher education institutions are grappling with exorbitant electricity tariffs, forcing many to spend millions of naira each month to meet their power demands. As a result, university administrators have urged government and relevant stakeholders to urgently intervene and shield institutions from these mounting financial pressures. News Central's Omolola Ololade reports.
Tertiary institutions across Nigeria are struggling under the burden of rising electricity costs after being placed in Band A by electricity distribution companies without receiving a corresponding improvement in power supply. At the University of Lagos, monthly electricity bills have surged from 180 million to 300 million. Faced with this unstable cost, many institutions have been forced to ration power or seek alternative means of electricity generation.
We were also told, universities, government cannot fund you. Go out and find IGR to sustain your system. Then the same government turns around and says 25% we will take back. Then the same government comes back and says, yes, you are helping us to take care of our children, but we are going to put you on the highest tariff that exists in the land.
When they decide to turn a new leaf, they impose a non-sustainable tariff. So we should have an opportunity to choose. If it is Band A or Band B or Band C that we want to belong to, let's choose, because we have other alternative means of getting electricity ourselves.
Students and staff endure limited power supply, threatening the quality of education. Meanwhile, the National Electricity Regulatory Commission attributes the high tariffs to inflationary pressures.
If inflation and exchange rate crashes tomorrow, this tariff will automatically crash, because what we are seeing today is the impact of inflation and exchange rate. And electricity sector is also just like any other sector you can think of in this country. And we are also affected by inflation and the rate of exchange rate. So it's as simple as that.
Electricity distribution companies advise institutions to adopt better energy management practices to mitigate the impact.
You need to manage energy. To manage energy, like in this institution, I recommended that, number one, the use of boiling should be discouraged. Ironing should be restricted to particular, maybe they can create ironing rooms Saturday and Sunday.
While TED Fund has assured Nigerian universities of intervention this year, many remain skeptical as the future of the country's higher education sector hinges on stable and affordable electricity. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
Members of the hashtag End Bad Governance protest movement has called on the Department of State Services to drop all charges against one of their member, Khalid Aminu. They accused the DSS of persecuting Aminu, whom they claim is being victimized for speaking out about his detention experience following the 2024 End Bad Governance protest. The group spoke during a press conference in Abuja, condemning the action by the DSS, saying that the service is in breach of constitutional procedures and are attempting to deny Aminu from exercising his fundamental right to free speech.
After his release, Khalid Aminu, who still suffers untold physical and psychological damages from his experience, has been telling his story in the process of exposing the sordid detail of the inner workings of Nigeria's ruthless security apparatus, especially the shadowy DSS. For a lot of people, the demand to abolish the DSS might sound like an emotional demand, but the Nigerian people do not need a police that is not accountable to them, because a police that is not accountable to Nigerian people is only accountable to politicians. And that is why the politicians have been using the DSS to repress us in different ways. And so it is not out of place to say that the DSS, if they cannot be accountable, if they cannot come out of their shadowy police work and start doing normal police work, they should go and be teaching social studies. The legal step taken by the DSS is not only an abuse and a waste of taxpayers' money. It is also an attempt to shut down Khalid Aminu in order to cover up the brutality and torture that has become a routine of security operatives in Nigeria, despite the country being signatory to numerous international treaties and conventions that forbid torture of prisoners and detainees. We hereby call on DSS to halt this reckless and vexatious effort to harass Khalid Aminu into silence.
Several former Niger Delta agitators have taken to the streets of Abuja, calling on the federal government to beam its searchlight on agencies responsible for the development of the region. The agitators, comprising youths from the Niger Delta extraction, carried several placards with bold inscriptions expressing their displeasure, marched to the National Assembly in Abuja, accusing the presidential amnesty program of not living up to its set-up objectives, and called on President Bola Tinubu to investigate the agencies and effect immediate leadership changes.
Our interest is to redirect the focus of all activities concerning people of the Niger Delta. They should refocus their activities towards transparency. Let us be exactly aware of all the things that happen in the Niger Delta. People are there in the Niger Delta suffering. As I talk to you, people do not have water to drink. They don't have electricity. They don't live in good homes. But people sit back here in Abuja and squander resources belonging to the people. So this government is committed to accountability, as I told us, and we are believing it. We are believing it. So now we want them to be so committed to the extent of getting people fired from offices where people are not discharging their responsibility.
In order to boost the Nigerian economy, there is a need to prioritize locally made goods. The Central Bank of Nigeria has tried banning certain imported goods in order to boost production in the country. However, it's quite evident that the nation is still highly dependent on imported goods to meet its needs. Chamom Dabang has the story.
Nigerians have held on to the belief that foreign-made products far supersede the quality of Nigerian-made ones. Now, this has gone so far that it has touched on every single industry. We see it in clothing, we see it in food, we see it in appliances, and much more. Now, today, we want to know if Nigerians still are holding on to that belief. Foreign-made versus locally made. Who takes the KO? According to the National Bureau of Statistics, Nigeria's imports accounted for 41.73% of total trade in the third quarter of 2024, with the value of imports amounting to 14.6 billion naira in quarter 3 of 2024, representing an increase of 62.3% compared to the value recorded in quarter 3 of 2023, which stood at 9 billion naira.
The truth be told, we have not developed the necessary processes and systems to produce the tech that can compete, globally.
I'm really proud of Nigeria and Nigerian products, but the problem we're having is Nigerians are not proud of what they produce.
Now, the locally rice that is here, that we planted, harvested, and mill here. They don't pay insurance, they don't pay freight, they don't pay duty, they don't pay port charges, they don't pay handling charges. Just to harvest your rice and mill it. You want to sell it the same price as imported rice. And the quality of your processing is not as good as that of Thailand. You see some stones in some of the local rice.
I prefer foreign-made products because they are good. They are good. If our product can be more good like theirs, it will be even better for us. But because we patronize our own products more.
Based on the conversation, it is quite evident that Nigerians have a strong desire to patronize local brands. However, quality and price of products seems to be a major issue, making it harder for Nigerian brands to compete with foreign products. Shoe brand owner Tonton Raymond speaks on the challenges of building his Nigerian brand.
I have seen my cost of production quadruple, more than quadruple since I started making shoes. The cost of production costs even more than how much I used to sell them when I started out doing this business.
Several local brands are dependent on importation for materials used in production, and due to factors like inflation and FX fluctuations, the cost of production has skyrocketed, forcing businesses to either adjust or cut corners.
Because countries like China, India, and even Taiwan have the advantage of scale, producing so many things at the same time and shipping them all across the world, countries like Nigeria, in its own market, cannot compete with those products coming from outside.
In order to boost the patronage of locally made goods, there is a need for manufacturers and producers to put quality and price control on the forefront of their objectives, while the government must provide incentives like tax breaks or subsidized loans. They say that charity begins at home. In order for Nigeria to grow its economy, there is a need for both the Nigerian citizens as well as the federal government to show support to locally made brands. Reporting for News Central Abuja, I am Chamun Dabeng.
5 days after an explosion rocked Carlton, a Channel 1 flow station situated between Boni and Dangame local government areas in Rivers State, the cause of the explosion is yet to be made public. The NNPCL, in a statement, had explained that there were no casualties recorded, but residents of Akuku-Toru, a community in close proximity to the flow station, are saying otherwise. A stakeholder in the community and the immediate past surveillance chairman in charge of Carlton Channel 1 and its environs, Pauline Daniel, is worried that the crude spill is now flowing to the 22nd settlements. That's the 22 settlements of Akuku-Toru and its environs. Still in Rivers State, 5 federal lawmakers from Rivers State who support Governor Siminalayi Fubara have called on the state lawmakers loyal to former Governor Nyesom Wike, led by Martin Amawale, to stop parading themselves as members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. The lawmakers made this statement during a solidarity visit to the Victor Okonjo-Iweala-led assembly on Monday, barely a week after pro-Wike federal lawmakers made a similar visit to the Amawale assembly. The visiting National Assembly members included Awaji Inombak, Abiatan, Boma Goodhead, Boniface Amirangwa, and Alison and Anderson Ibix, as well as Manuchem Umere Zirike. Now, speaking on behalf of the caucus, Abiatan outlines the purpose of the visit. More than 7,000 people have been killed in ongoing clashes in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo since January. The Congolese Prime Minister Judith Suminwa said the latest death toll at a high-level human rights council meeting in Geneva on Monday, stating that both civilians and combatants were among the casualties. The conflict has been particularly devastating in Goma, where 3,000 deaths have been reported. We also understand that 450,000 people have been displaced after 90 refugee camps were destroyed, leaving them without shelter. Since January, the M23 rebel group, which Kinshasa accuses Rwanda of backing, has captured vast areas of eastern Congo, including the strategic cities of Goma and Bukavu, along with valuable mineral-rich territories. This latest escalation underscores the wider struggle for power, identity, and resources in the region as fighting intensifies with no clear resolution in sight. In a significant move on the global stage, Nigeria has officially expressed its desire to join the G20, reinforcing its position as one of Africa's largest economies. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tungar, who made the announcement, emphasized the importance of the country's inclusion in this influential group of nations. Tungar, in his statement, also highlighted the robust relationship between Nigeria and South Africa. The two nations have long been allies, working together to enhance economic cooperation and address shared challenges on the continent. In a noteworthy development, Nigeria is set to host G20-related meetings ahead of the main summit scheduled to take place in South Africa later this month. This opportunity will allow Nigeria to showcase its economic potential and leadership on the continental and global stage.
Nigeria should join South Africa as a member of the G20. It's high time. We have a population of 220 million. We're going to be 400 million by the year 2050. We're going to be the third largest country in the world. We're currently rebasing or recalculating our economy, so we are nothing taken from South Africa, but we are going to be once again the largest economy on the African continent. So South Africa needs a partner in G20, and it's not enough to just say the African Union is in there as a continental body, because don't forget that the European Union is part of the G20, and yet Germany is a member, France is a member, Italy is a member. If you go to Latin America or South America, Latin America, I would say, you have Argentina, you've got Mexico, you've got, so they are members, but why should it be Africa that is only allowed one country, and then the next entry would just be the African Union? We need more than one country. Most of these other continents, all except for Australia, which is really just dominated by, that continent is just essentially one country. You could argue that New Zealand is there, but that it makes sense if Australia is the only country representing its continent. But when it comes to Africa, 55 countries, it's not good enough. It's not fair, especially at a time when Africa is the subject that's being discussed by the entire planet.
3 years ago today, Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, a war that has left hundreds of thousands dead, millions displaced, and the world deeply divided as the conflict drags on. It's not just soldiers and civilians paying the price, but global stability itself. News Central's international correspondent Afia Hagen has more.
3 years of relentless war. What was once expected to be a short campaign has turned into a grinding conflict with no clear end in sight. Today, Ukraine mourns its dead, while both sides count the cost. The toll has been staggering. Western estimates suggest nearly 500,000 casualties, Ukrainian and Russian soldiers, civilians caught in the crossfire, children orphaned. Towns across the country, once bustling, are now unrecognizable. On this, the third anniversary of the invasion, both leaders remain defiant. President Zelensky says Ukraine will fight until every inch of land is reclaimed. President Putin vows Russia will not back down, painting the war as a battle against Western aggression. But the conflict has rippled far beyond the battlefield. It has reshaped global alliances, fueled an energy crisis, and driven up food prices worldwide. And now the political landscape is shifting again, with Donald Trump's return to the spotlight. He instigated talks with Russia about the war without bringing Ukraine or Europe to the table. Trump's rhetoric, including false claims Ukraine started the war, has alarmed European allies.
A dictator without elections Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast.
Trump's criticism of U.S. aid to Ukraine and calls for a negotiated peace on terms many see as favorable to Moscow could reshape Western strategy entirely. In Ukraine, Trump's comments are seen as a threat. Without firm U.S. backing, the country fears it could be forced into a settlement that cedes territory to Russia.
Europe just needs to come together.
Zelensky is facing pressure to sign a deal to hand the United States preferential access to Ukraine's mineral deposits. Trump wants Ukraine to give U.S. companies access as compensation for the tens of billions of dollars of aid delivered under his predecessor, Joe Biden. But Ukraine is seeking security guarantees from the United States in exchange for signing away precious rights to vast amounts of its natural resources and critical minerals. European leaders, meanwhile, are scrambling. France, Germany and the UK have pledged to increase military aid, whilst urging Washington to stay the course. But behind closed doors, there's anxiety about what a second Trump presidency could mean.
We look forward to speaking to President Trump more about this. We're very, very clear. There must be a role for Ukraine. It must be at the heart of these negotiations. Of course they want peace, but they will need security guarantees.
3 years on, the war has left deep scars, not just on Ukraine and Russia, but across the world. And now peace seems as much a political puzzle as a military one. The next few months, shaped by shifting power in Washington, could determine how this war ends, or if it drags on for years to come. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagan.
A tripartite association comprising of the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners, NATO, Maritime Workers of Nigeria, NWUN, and the Association of Maritime Truck Owners, AMATO, have issued a 3-day ultimatum to shut down services on port access roads and embark on an industrial action throughout Lagos State in protest against exploitation and life-threatening bodily injuries to their members. News Central's maritime correspondent was at a press conference where the association issued the ultimatum and filed this report.
The Nigerian Maritime Workers and Haulage Operators are collaborating in a tripartite association comprising the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners, NATO, Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria, MAUM, and the Association of Maritime Truck Owners, AMATO, to promote ease of doing business and protect the interest of maritime workers. In a press release issued in Lagos, they brought to the fore the increasingly provocative and exploitative activities of the committee set up by the Lagos State government to resolve the problem of traffic gridlock. They say the committee has derailed and is indulging in indiscriminate arrest and imposition of outrageous penalties on trucks they forcefully hijack while on their way from frigates to the Lagos ports. They allege that these penalties, which range from 200,000 and 400,000 naira, are paid into private accounts rather than government accounts.
Recent incident involving trucks released from Lily Pond Brigade, being a major brigade for Apapa Port banned trucks, which the release of the said trucks was authoritatively directed by the Nigerian Ports Authority through the office of the Apapa Port Manager. Shockingly, all the trucks that were on the move following the directive of Nigeria Ports Authority were flagged down by members of the two committees and ordered to return to where they are coming from. And some of the trucks were forcefully arrested and slammed with their usual unregulated belts. In most cases, the trucks were being driven by them to their yard and later charged them to pay towing charges. Further to the above, we wish to bring to your esteemed attention the disheartening events of Thursday, 20th February 2025 at Terabi Apapa, during which the members of the committee, alongside a contingent of street urchins illegally acting at the committee's behest, attacked a group of haulage truck owners, drivers, and stakeholders who were in transit along the Apapa Port Road. This latest attack occurred during another bout of harassment, verbal and physical assault, and belligerent demands of outrageous among in penalties by members of these committee members.
The port manager, the managing director of MPA will not allow this 3-day ultimatum to come and nothing is being done. It's an appeal to them If after 3 days nothing is done on this matter, I think there's what we call solidarity support that will come from Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria and the collaboration. I'm not sitting down here as President General of Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria. I'm equally sitting down here as Deputy President of Nigeria Labour Congress, that all the stakeholders within the transport business, we are raising our voice to let Lagos State government know that we are not joking on this matter. It is going to be a serious matter.
As the clock ticks to the expiration of this ultimatum on Wednesday and the negative impact it will have on the nation's economy, it is imperative that the Nigerian Shippers Council, the Lagos State government, the Commissioner of Police, Port Authority Police Command, and all other concerned authorities look into the allegations against the Lagos State Committee on Port Access Sanity and find ways to resolve the contentious issues raised by the maritime workers to avert the huge economic losses that an indefinite strike presents. In Lagos, for News Central, Norma Obiaswala.
And that's all we can take on this hour. But before we go, you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 4221, Star Times channel 274. We're also on Avo TV, and you can stream us live on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Judith at TV.